Everything you were taught about the British Empire in India is incomplete. They didn't just rule India, they rewrote its destiny in ways history barely admits, that a land once among the richest on earth suddenly became one of the poorest. But how? Before colonization, India controlled nearly a quarter of the world's wealth. Let that sink in. Its textiles, spices, and knowledge systems were unmatched, envied across continents. Then came traders, not soldiers. The East India Company arrived quietly. They promised trade, partnership, and mutual benefit. But that was only the beginning. What happened next was not business, it was calculated domination. Through manipulation and alliances, they gained influence over local rulers. Then came betrayal, divide and rule tactics that shattered unity across kingdoms. Entire regions fell, not by war alone, but by deception and economic control. Taxes skyrocketed, draining wealth from farmers who once thrived. Food was exported while locals starved. Yes, you heard that right. But here's what many history books barely mention. Famines during British rule killed tens of millions across India. And many of these weren't natural disasters, they were policy decisions. Grain was hoarded or exported while people died in the streets. Children, families, entire villages wiped out in silence. Meanwhile, profits flowed straight back to Britain. This wasn't mismanagement, it was exploitation at scale. India's industries were deliberately dismantled to favor British manufacturing. Skilled artisans lost their livelihoods almost overnight. Some stories even speak of weavers having their thumbs cut off. Brutal, debated, but revealing. Whether myth or reality, one truth stands: industries collapsed under colonial rule. India was turned into a supplier of raw materials, nothing more. But the psychological impact might have been even worse. Education systems were reshaped to serve colonial interests. Languages, identities, and cultures were slowly pushed aside. A new narrative was created, one where colonization looked like progress. But progress for who? Because for millions in India, it meant loss, suffering, and silence. Resistance did exist, quietly at first, but it would eventually erupt into open rebellion that shook the empire to its core. By the mid-1800s, tensions had reached a tipping point, discontent spreading through armies, villages, and cities alike. Then came the spark, the Indian Rebellion of 1857, a full-scale revolt against oppressive rule. What started as localized unrest quickly engulfed entire regions, threatening British control and shocking the empire. For a moment, it seemed the empire might actually fall, as soldiers and civilians stood united against oppression. But the response was swift, brutal, designed to crush resistance and instill fear across the land. Villages were destroyed, public executions carried out, a warning that rebellion would not be tolerated under any circumstance. Fear spread, yet anger did not die. It went underground, waiting, plotting for the next spark of liberation. After the rebellion was crushed, control shifted from the East India Company directly to the British Crown. This marked the beginning of the British Raj, a period of official colonization with stricter rules and more structured control. Railways, ports, and roads were introduced, but primarily to serve the empire, not the Indian people. Infrastructure and industry were designed to extract wealth efficiently, consolidating control, while masking exploitation as progress. India's population paid the price, economically, socially, and psychologically, effects that linger to this day. Yet through it all, resilience persisted quietly underground and in ways history often ignores. This is the hidden truth about British colonization of India, a story of wealth stolen, cultures reshaped, and people silenced.